There's a pretty big Marvel Snap patch today, so I want to go over some of the details that came from this patch and some of the leaks that we got about upcoming patches. All of that information is going to be in this video, so that means it's going to be a pretty long one, so bear with me, please. I do want to mention I'm going to be going over Vin Keisler's article that got posted to SnapFan, so if you prefer to read all of this information, I'll leave a link to it in the description, but it's also going to be on your screen for your reading convenience as well. First of all, let's talk about the series down ranks. There's not much to talk about here. The Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. cards are dropping from Series 4 down to Series 3, so if you don't have any of those cards yet, it should be pretty easy for you to collect, especially if you already have a Series 3 full collection. So if you don't have any of these cards yet, it's going to be super easy for you to pick these up. Unfortunately, I already own all of these cards, so it doesn't actually have much of an impact on me. As for the cards dropping from Series 5 down to Series 4, the only card I don't own here is Sentry. The cards dropping down to Silver Surfer, Darkhawk, Null, and Sentry. I am actually pretty excited about picking up Sentry, and then obviously a Series 4 card is a much easier card to obtain than a Series 5 card, so maybe I'll be able to pick up Sentry before he drops down to Series 3. Null dropping down to Series 4 is pretty exciting. I know a lot of people wanted Null because a lot of people have Galactus but don't have Null and they want to try out Galactus lists, so having access to Null is a pretty awesome thing for those players. Moving on to the balance changes, there's a lot to talk about here, so bear with me. First of all, Darkhawk has moved from 4-1 to 4-0. Marvel Snap has talked a lot about their philosophy of moving cards up or down just a single power, and it's more or less like a vibe check. So the reason why they do these one power adjustments is because they think a card might be a little too strong or a little too weak, and once they see the win rate changes or the win rate when drawn changes based on just a single power difference, it lets them evaluate how they want to change the card in the future or if it needs to be changed at all. So I really like these one power changes. It can feel bad if you feel like Darkhawk is too oppressive of a card. Personally, I don't think he is, at least at the moment, but let's say, for example, you did think the card was too oppressive. This power change can feel bad for you because it's like, oh, okay, well, you haven't done enough to rein in this card. But this type of change can help them evaluate whether a larger change is needed or not. So for that reason, I really do like these one power changes. In this particular case, it's actually pretty exciting for me because I play a lot of Jane Foster, Mr. Negative, and that deck really wants a certain number of zero power cards. And they don't really have a lot of big, heavy hitting cards that they can run anymore. They get rewarded for running cards like Arnim Zola because it's a zero power card, but they don't really have anything big that they want to blow up or that they want to duplicate with Arnim Zola, especially now that Devil Dinosaur and Ronin both have not zero power. But thankfully, with Darkhawk being at 4-0, maybe we could try some Jane Foster, Mr. Negative Darkhawk lists, which maybe I'll try out a little bit later today. But for now, let's move on to the next balance change. That's going to be Thanos. Thanos got moved from a 6-8 to a 6-11, which is a pretty big change, actually. +3 power is pretty huge. One thing to mention is that now that he's gone past that 9 power threshold, he is vulnerable to Shang-Chi both before and after you've played all of the stones. So on one hand, he's become a little bit more vulnerable, but on another hand, he generates 3 more power, which is no joke. They said the idea behind changing Thanos is they wanted the Mad Titan to feel more impactful on his own, rather than the stones being the reason you play Thanos. And personally, I don't think that that's going to ever change. The fundamental, each of the stones are so powerful that I don't think you're ever going to be building around Thanos himself, but you will build around those stones. That being said, the objective of making him more threatening on his own is definitely accomplished. A 6-11 is no joke, and Thanos was already a pretty impactful card on the meta, so I do expect this to be I don't think you'll see any meta shifts on it, but you'll see Thanos' win rate jump a little bit, I think. Moving on to Sandman, this is the most exciting change for me. He went from being a 4-1 to being a 5-5. What an exciting change. That's +4 power for Sandman in exchange for +1 energy. I've been a Sandman enjoyer for a really long time, and it's been really hard to justify putting him in some decks. What's really exciting about this change is now Electro curves into Sandman perfectly. Play Electro on turn 3, you play Sandman on turn 4, and now for the rest of the game, the opponent can only play 1 card per turn, and if you're running Electro, you're already running a deck that wants to play 1 card per turn. It always felt weird to me that Electro was a 3-cost card and Sandman was a 4-cost card, because the two cards seem to work together so well. If you're running Electro, you're only going to be wanting to play 1 card, so giving the opponent that restriction of also only being able to play 1 card seemed like such a nice piece of overlapping synergy, and it was always really frustrating to me just intuitively that the cards weren't really efficient together. Moving on to Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman got moved from a 5-7 to a 5-8. Not a huge change. I think that if you want Spider-Woman to see play, she needs to have a significant cost reduction and power reduction. That way you can use her in a more combo-oriented fashion rather than a raw power stat function. Because right now, the way you play Spider-Woman at her most efficient, she's going to generate a net 12 power for 5 energy, which is no joke, but that's only in her ideal scenario, and her ideal scenario gets pushed later and later into the game. So you want to play her on turn 6 or turn 7 if you're running magic or something. And at that point, you would much rather play a multi-card combo most of the time. But with that being said, Spider-Woman probably has a future, even in her current state. It's just a matter of the surrounding cards that you need to support her. So you need to run cards like Debris, Black Widow, and the Goblins. That deck archetype just hasn't seen a ton of play for a while. So honestly, I think Spider-Woman's lack of impact on the game is less about her as a card and more about her supporting cards. But the +1 power on Spider-Woman is really nice because it's about as strong as she can get without being Shang-Chi'd. Obviously, you get 1 more power, she can get Shang-Chi'd. So 5/8 is a really safe, strong stat line. Another +1 power change was +1 to Namor. Namor is now a 4/6, meaning that Namor gets to 11 power in a single location rather than 10. Again, not a change that I think will make any splashes or any waves. No ocean puns intended, especially because I think Atuma is strictly better than Namor, especially because we can't really take advantage of the fact that he's an ongoing card. I mean, we can give him +2 with Spectrum, but we can't do anything like Onslaught with Namor. So I don't really see Namor ever seeing play in his current state until he gets more supporting cards. But it's nice to see that they're willing to give the +1 power to cards that don't really see a lot of play. I wonder how much power you would realistically need to put on Namor to have him see play in the current game. All right, moving on to Dagger, one of my favorite cards in the game. Dagger went from being a 2/1 to being a 2/2. Again, not a change that's probably going to have a big impact on the meta, but it's nice to see some of these lesser played cards get their +1 to see if it changes anything. That's it for the balance changes, but we do have a couple wording changes that we're going to go over. First of all, there's a text update to Yondu. He now reads, destroy the top card of the opponent's deck. For the longest time, he has said remove. So a nice little piece of wording update there. This isn't just a wording change, this is an actual functionality change. Sakaar now reads, after this turn, put a card from each player's hand here. I do like this. I think there's a little bit of overlapping design space now with Sakaar and Grand Central, but that's not really a big deal in a game with so many locations and a game that plans to add so many locations as time goes on. You're always going to have some overlapping design space with the location, so it's not a huge deal. I did kind of like the surprise factor of Sakaar, but more often than not, I think it was annoying to see Sakaar flip. But now you can do a little bit more planning around Sakaar, which is nice to see. Boosters you earn after matches are now twice more likely to target cards that need more boosters to be upgraded. So for example, if you had a card that was at rare and you were trying to upgrade it to epic and you needed, I think it's 20 boosters to get there, right? That makes sense. Yeah, 20 boosters. But you only had 5 boosters. You're now twice as likely to get boosters for that card as opposed to any other card in the deck. That makes me very, very happy as someone who is trying to get full black and white decks for certain archetypes. All right, moving on to new bundles for March. This is some pretty exciting stuff. So first of all, we have a bundle rivalry week. We have Mr. Sinister and Bishop variants. These both look really fantastic. I really like the Mr. Sinister. This is a 4,000 gold bundle. It comes with both a variant and an avatar for this piece of artwork. 1,500 collector's tokens, that's no joke. 2,000 credits, and then 155 boosters for each of these cards. That's just enough to completely upgrade one of these 2 cards if you're trying to split them. Oh my god, this is my first time seeing that Angel variant, but next up we have a bundle for Mutant Masterpiece. We have a Sentinel variant, which I think is beautiful, a Forge variant, which I'm not in love with. There's just a bit too much going on in the artwork for me to personally love, and then there's Angel, who looks incredible. That's a very different style from what we have in other Angel variants. This is a 3,000 gold bundle. It comes with a variant and avatar for each of those characters that we just went over. 1,500 credits and 155 boosters for each of them. So you get less in-game currency than the previous bundle we just went over, but you get more variants. Next, we have a weekend bundle that's happening on the 25th of March. This will come with 1,000 tokens, 200 gold, and 200 credits with a current unknown cost. Then we have a bunch of daily bundles, which is a variety of different credits for an unknown cost. I'll let you look at those on screen now. It's nice to see that we're getting so many bundles. I hope that these are relatively cheap. It seems like they're going to be cheap. It's just a small amount of in-game currency here and there. The nice thing about this is it's an easy way to collect collector's tokens. So if you're low on collector's tokens and you're trying to stock back up, this whole month is going to be fantastic for you. Finally, the Peach Momoko mystique that people have wanted in the game for quite a long time is on its way in the form of a bundle starting March 1st. with an unknown cost at the moment. I imagine this one's going to be quite expensive just because the variant is really, really cool and it's one that people have wanted for a long time. Personally, I'm not going to be picking up this variant, I don't think, mainly because the bundle doesn't have anything else I really want in it, but there's 1500 gold and 1500 credits for those who are interested, and of course 155 boosters so you can upgrade that variant nice and quickly. Then we have a bunch more daily bundles. I won't go over these, but they're more or less akin to what we saw before. I'll slowly scroll through them so you can take a look at them if you're curious. It's just a bunch of credits and stuff. One bundle I do want to talk about very quickly is the April Fool's bundle, which is set to take place on April 1st. It's going to cost you 400 gold, and the title is I Got a Rock. And that's it. That's all you get from this bundle. I think that's absolutely hilarious. Obviously, do not get this if you are trying to be gold efficient, but it is an absolutely outstanding bundle for comedy effect. I think I will get this one. How can you not? And then in response to this bundle of April Fools that we get on April 1st, starting on April 3rd, we get a much nicer bundle with 1,250 credits in it. My guess is that this is going to be quite a cheap one to more or less make up for how inefficient the actual April 1st one was. Next, we have spoilers for the upcoming season, so if you're not into that, this is your time to walk away. We have Nimrod as our Season Pass card. I'm extraordinarily excited about Nimrod. In this Season Pass, we'll be getting 2 banger card backs. Look at this, a Sentinel card back and an X-Men card back. That is absolutely incredible. Then we have a Sentinel, Wolverine, and Nimrod variant. Very big fan of the Wolverine, but Wolverine has so many incredible variants coming out. I can't imagine this is the one I'm going to stick with. Sentinel variant looks really nice as well, and a Dan Hip Nimrod. Can't go wrong with Dan Hip. And we get avatars for each of those as well. Nimrod's a card I'm really excited about. I've talked about him quite a bit in the past, and I will talk about him more when we get closer to his release. Now, we also have spoilers for the April season, so let's get into that. We have Hitmonkey coming to the game. Hitmonkey is a 2-0. We'll talk a little bit more about his effect in just a moment, but look at these card backs. Oh my god. The Goose and the Cosmo look incredible. And then, of course, we have Ryan Gonzalez, Cosmo, and Goose. Ryan Gonzalez's work is incredible, and I'm happy to see more variants of hers make their way into the game. And they're going to be Battle Pass skins as well, so you're not even going to have to spend gold on these, just your Battle Pass purchase. Hitmonkey is a 2-0 on reveal, gain +2 power for each other card you played this turn. This is an incredibly powerful card, and I'm actually very surprised it's getting printed in its current state. I do expect this to be a very meta impacting card, probably more so than even Darkhawk was or Zabu was. With that said, thankfully Sandman just got a pretty big buff, so maybe he'll keep Hitmonkey in check. And also, the last time we had decks similar to what I assume the Hitmonkey deck is going to look like, we didn't have Galactus in the game, and Galactus, in theory, should be pretty strong against these types of decks. So hopefully there's a couple archetypes in the game now that should keep decks like Hitmonkey in check, but we'll have to wait and see how that ends up turning out. We also have 2 new leaked cards, and I'm actually really excited about Stegron. He's a 4/5 with the effect on reveal, move an enemy card from here to another location. Lots of interesting implications for Stegron. I won't go into them in this video because I'm sure we'll have plenty of time to talk about Stegron in the future. Here's a couple of variants for Stegron as well. Really like this one. Really cool looking. Then we have J. Jonah Jameson, who is a 1/1 with the effect ongoing. Your emotes are ruder. Now, you might think to yourself, well, this is obviously a for fun card. It's a 1/1 and it only impacts your emotes. How silly is that? Well, it's not that silly. J. Jonah Jameson is an ongoing 1-cost card, something that Spectrum ongoing combo decks really want access to. J. Jonah Jameson might end up being a actually legit card just because he has the ongoing keyword and he's a 1-cost card. Spectrum decks already run Quinjet because it's a cheap ongoing effect, even though they don't generate any other cards. Having an additional 1-cost card might be a difference maker in that deck. Definitely something to keep an eye on. And probably the only place that I see J. Jonah Jameson seeing any play. And then also, of course, being a 1-cost card gives you a little bit of synergy with cards like Kazar. And Blue Marvel and things like that. We have some new variants that have been data mined, so these will not be in the game just yet. You actually can't get any of these, but they are data mined, so these will be in the game in the future. I'm not going to go over these in this video because I'm going to do a video where I talk about some of my favorite ones tomorrow, so if you're interested in that, tune into the channel tomorrow. But I'll just give it a quick scroll through as we move into the next section, which is newly available variants. So these are the variants that have been added to the game that were previously data mined, but now they're actually in players' shops and you can pick these up. Of all of these, I'm most excited about Kim Jacinto Spectrum, which looks incredible. Kim Jacinto Onslaught, which looks incredible. This pirate-looking Mr. Fantastic looks, well, wait for it, fantastic. And of course, we have Taco Hulk. Gotta love Taco Hulk. That's it for today's patch. Obviously, there was a lot to go over here, so I hope you were able to stick all the way through the video. Let me know what you think of the upcoming patch, and I'll catch you in the next video.